Hi, Algebra 1. So this is a quick review of lesson number 7, what we did on Friday. So these are your inequality symbols. Remember that, two things to remember, right? If it has a line underneath it, that means that it's a closed circle on the number line, okay? And if it is a line underneath, the inequality symbol, it's not just greater than, it's greater than or equal to, okay? So it means it can be that number or number greater. And the same thing applies for the less than or equal to, right? That means it can be that number or something greater, okay? So the three rules for solving inequalities, you solve it just like an equation. And what we mean by that is that you perform your inverse operations. Whatever you do one side, you do the other. You always have to ensure that your variable's on the left side, right? So if you have something like this right here that says 2 less than x, keep in mind that the mouth is open to x. So when you flip it over, it should read the same. So the mouth stays open. So it's x is greater than 2, okay? It's very important. Otherwise, you won't be able to read your solution in a way that will help you understand what numbers x could be. And then finally, the biggest rule, this is the rule that we asked you to emphasize in your notes heavily, is that when you multiply or divide by a negative number, your inequality symbol flips. So here below we have, I really wish that Zoom wouldn't do that little thing down below, right? So in the example, we have negative 4x is greater than 28. If I were to divide negative 4 on both sides, 28 divided by negative 4 is negative 7. But my inequality symbol flips. So it would not be x is greater than negative 7. It would be x is less than negative 7, okay? A lot of you guys made mistakes with that in your notes. So just make sure that you're going back and you're checking. Now, there were 3 homework problems that we wanted to revisit the most. Number 2, number 4, and number 5. Number 5 you'll find in the next slide. Okay, so in number 2, it read in the inequality, 4 greater than or equal to p is 2 an acceptable answer? Yes, no, and explain. So just as I explained in the previous slide, you have to flip it so that the variable is on the left side, okay? So 4 greater than p is the same as p is less than or equal to 4. You see how the mouth is closed to p? It remains closed to p, okay? The mouth remains open to 4, okay? So this here reads that p is less than or equal to 4. And it asks, is 2 an acceptable answer? Yes. Therefore, 2 is an acceptable answer because p can be any number less than or equal to 4. Another acceptable answer could have been 4, right? Because it's less than or equal to. Okay, could have been 4, 3, 2, 1, and so on. For the next one, it said solve the following inequality and name at least 2 examples of numbers that can be included in the solution. So you were given this inequality to solve. And as shown, first you subtract 12 from both sides. 13 minus 12 is 1, and you bring down that negative x. Now there's an imaginary negative 1 multiplying to that x, so you have to divide negative 1 to both sides, okay? This seemed to catch a lot of folks. Just please make sure that you're doing that. And of course, like the rule stated on the previous slide, when you multiply or divide by a negative, you have to flip that inequality symbol, okay? So it flipped from less than to greater than. So that means that your final answer is x is greater than negative 1. So this question asks to give at least 2 examples, right? Because solving required dividing by negative, the inequality symbol had to be flipped, right? So therefore, x can be any number greater than 1. 2 examples of that. Well, you could have picked anything, right? But I picked the next 2, and that was 0 and 1, because those numbers go up on the number line. They're greater, okay? And then finally, we have number 5, which a couple of you guys got stuck on. A couple of you chose A, which was what we anticipated, right? But you have to pay attention to what the solution means, right? So here on the right side, we have the work shown and work solved. First, you subtract 2 from both sides. You bring down that negative 4 is greater than 8. Then you have to divide by that negative 4 on both sides. And again, because you divided by a negative, you have to flip that inequality symbol. So what ends up resulting is x is less than negative 2. So some of you guys picked A, like we anticipated, but if x is less than negative 2, that means it cannot be negative 2. 2 and 3 are greater than -2, so it has to be -4. And it helps to use a number line. So I know here that this is an open circle, right? If I go back to that very first slide, less than is an open circle, okay? So I graphed my open circle at 2, and since this arrowhead, right, I mean, this less than symbol is facing to the left, I now graph to the left, okay? So the question asks, which value of x is in the solution set? Well, -4 lies in the solution set. It graphs to the left. 2 and 3 are over here. It's untouched, okay? And that pretty much wraps up the review for lesson 7. Please make sure that you are reaching out to teachers or coming to office hours if you're still struggling to understand.